Cheshunt would send you into the schoolboys nice and early. I remember I remember watching a certain person in the 1981 schoolboys. Remember the 81 schoolboys at Hearts and Beds were in a small room, packed audience, ringing the corner, looked horrendous. I went in there in 1982. I was up for the first contest. In those days, you had two fights to win the Hearts and Beds. I said to my cornerman, I said, "Why has he got all those badges on his shorts?" He said, "No, you don't want to worry about those. They give those away." He'd had quite a lot of. That was quite a battle in order to get through that. And then we go to your two fights. I remember someone else had a lot of badges on their shorts.
Terry Downs called me a lifeguard.
Yeah, well, and as you did those as a boxer, you've started putting them on because you wouldn't really. I mean, if you in introspect, the impact of seeing those badges of me as a 10 bout boxer gave you a little bit of nerves as what's going on to that. To start raising sort of questions. How do you overcome such nerves? Home counties was then. They said your opponent's quite tall. I said yeah. And then remember Glyn Wilson from Marlow. You remember him? No, Nicky boxed him, and he walked in. And he said he's tall. I said I'm nearly a ladder to box him. It was and you'd go through those, and as you went through those rounds in the schoolboys, the competition built. The group of people got smaller, and that sort of teamwork starts to come through. They were all great days. I then I was working as a builder, but I was also working as a lifeguard. But because working as a builder meant that you got laid off quite a bit because of rain. You were self-employed, so if you did the good job of finishing the roof or finishing the house, you said, "Oh yeah, that's fine. We don't need you next week." So the lifeguard job then gave me permanent money. But the lifeguards at the swimming pool said, "We're going to do a charity swim on the 29th of December in 1987.
Open air.
One of the things about memories, you remember very important events, and they said we're going to swim a marathon. And I was training for the boxing, the ABAs in February. I was trying to lose weight, and I had this swimming event to do at the same time. And I'd work Saturdays and do some swimming. So anyway, we jumped in at 4 AM to do the swimming on December the 29th. And 16 hours later, I've done 1,000 lengths, and they've done a bit more. And then. One of them ended up in hospital, couldn't move his arms. This is the car crash of preparation. 10 days later, I boxed Peter Wardby, who got to the ABA finals. And needless to say, that performance was flat. It was flat. Then we went into the ABAs and we all training going through that. It was a series of difficult contests that led up to going into the ABAs. I was pretty burnt out. And then I, in essence, stopped boxing. I also got laid off from the building for a period of time. The career, normally I'd go in there to read the papers, no paper. And it was what course to do. So it was a book what course. And I had kind of A-levels to get into university. I say kind of. I had art A-levels in sociology. Art A-level doesn't count. It was a painting, which I got for that. It was reasonably right, drawing, painting. But then I realised that there's one place, now Brunel University, that would let you in if you've done county level sport. So I thought, this is a crack. So I applied to there and got in to do a degree. The imposter syndrome. I went there the first day and I thought they'd go, yeah, we made a mistake with you. I hadn't properly stopped boxing at that point, but I hadn't. And when I went to the university, was in Hounslow, and I went to training at All Stars a couple of times, which was quite good. It was good to go there. They, in essence, saw me as a sparring partner. So I'd get sent in with Frank Finn. Yeah, Sydney with Frank Finn. Yeah, and but the boxing, what is boxing is all encompassing. It's difficult to do something you really commit to at the same time as imagery, imagining yourself doing something, recreating it in your head so that it actually creates a blueprint for how you do it in practice. Well, boxers naturally do that to a degree. Think of shadowboxing. What's the role of shadowboxing? What's on a bag to create scenarios against opponents. So it's quite easy to introduce some of the psychological skills to boxers, which I started doing when I was coaching, getting some experience with it when I started at the university, and I did some coaching at old Actonans as well. And thinking to that is, well, the imagery, for example, where you image how you're going to go in the first part of a boxing contest, and how you can get a plan, and how you can execute a strategy, and how from that you then become confident to how you can be able to deliver that strategy. Start going, well, how useful would that be in a competitive setting, so that you get a sense of control? How useful would be to go into a contest knowing that you're thoroughly prepared? So started applying the sport psychology within the boxing context. In around about 1998, a student called Chris Hall, he was a student at Brunel when I was teaching. I didn't know who he was at that point. He introduced. He said, he said, I'm Chris Hall. I was the boxing coach at Islington, and you boxed some of our boxers. That was quite good. And then he started coaching pros, and so we did a really enjoyable 3-year period where we worked with a boxer called Cornelius Carr. Cornelius boxed Steve Collins. So he boxed Steve Collins. He'd lost against Steve Collins. He came in at short notice. He boxed again and lost. He'd had a year or two out. Cornelius Carr was in the ABA final when I was boxing, so he was getting into his late 20s. And we started working with Cornelius. She said, I've seen Paul McKenna. I said, what we did with Christine was quite, the anxiety was not doing it. She couldn't water ski. That was a problem. That was a problem. She couldn't water ski. That was a problem. She would go. She didn't like the cold.
Couldn't swim.
She couldn't swim. She had a life jacket on.
Did she like getting wet?
She was wet most of the time. But what we did with Christine was presence two things. One is to try and work on a perception of pain and fatigue, and the idea that basically you've got to hang on. You've got to hang on. And we worked on imagery, to image your arm being a wooden bar, so that it's out straight, and then you relax in that tension, which is quite a useful way. So the actual technique you want to do, you can mentally practice it so that you're not if you're tensing up at the wrong part, you get fatigued really quickly. Small muscle groups get fatigued, and in essence that feels the physical symptoms to give up will be absolutely right in your head. It's almost impossible to overcome them. So we worked in and around that. And then the very simple question: at what point will you give up? You say, what point will you give up? What point is the active? Will you not get up? When you go down in the water, will you not get up again? What point will that happen? And she goes, well, no. Well, so there you go. There is your confidence. There is your confidence in the belief in that one strategy is the act of getting up. It will get cold and it will stay cold, and you will be dragged across the channel in about an hour because it's a boat. And you'll get that cold. If you can tolerate the cold, and you can get up each time, then you'll get there. And that gave her some confidence. That would have given me great publicity, other than the fact that she did the channel crossing and then switched to ITV. I've done a load of filming with BBC in and around that. You turn up for the BBC filming, and they immediately check you over and take anything Adidas stuff goes off, and you get so I'm dressed in. My colleague Greg lent me a t-shirt. Greg is 6'2". You're never going to see that now because it's hidden in BBC archives. But quite useful how simple strategies can help build confidence. That working with the boxer the hour before a contest, and the nice thing about boxing, the World Championship boxing, that went out on, I think it's went out on a strange channel. It was going on at 10 o'clock, so the contest was going to happen around about 10 o'clock. So if the fight was going on before was going to take longer, that was switched. So we knew the warm-up procedure. We knew that we could build an hour or so warm-up procedure, but how nervous everybody gets in and around that. Simple strategies in and around that, which was having good records of success in training, so that when the anxiety is there, you think, do I feel ready? We'd then get out. Here's the 12,800 you did in this month. This is every one of them quicker. This is every one of them quicker. Look at this. These sparring sessions, we'd get them to rate how well he'd done, and they were better. We manipulated. Sparring was quite an interesting one, as we looked at the sort of the intense training to modify how the sessions were put together, so that we paid for sparring sessions, and those paid for sparring sessions would occur after a day of light training, mental training, which would be built into shadow boxing and light stuff, and then the spar. Then the spar would be built up, the sparring partner known, strategies would be built in, and in the latter parts building up to a contest, we then worked out what the warm up should be. If you know you're going to box in 20 minutes time, what a 20-minute warm up is like. What you're going to do? How does it start? What's best for you? We looked at relaxation, and we got the psychology of relaxation tapes. So I gave him a relaxation tape, and he came back and said, "That's the wrong one. That's what my wife's got for pregnancy." And I said, "Well, she might have." So he said, "I'm not doing that." I said, "Okay then, we'll use music." And we've done a lot of work with the benefits of music. Music can help you go to sleep, so he picked up a whole load of songs which he then played to listen to, with the idea that 2 hours before the contest, when you're trying to relax, putting on set tapes which would then pace the relaxation. Because normally when people try to relax, they are concerned about falling asleep properly and missing something. But the nice bit about music, isn't it? So you put this on, you know it lasts 35 minutes. So when it's finished, you can then start the warm-up. So it allowed a very simple, just pace and take the anxiety out. I know somebody else could do that, but it gave a way of him doing it on his own in practice. And then you'd start the warm-up and then have a set warm-up that you could do. Being drunk from the background. I'm on no alcohol because I drove down because the trains are so hopeless. Which all of that then builds confidence that you've done. This is the warm up. This is relaxation. This is the warm up. This is how you feel on it. Feel at the end, and the idea that sets of feeling as you're ready to do the best spar is you try and bottle it. So we try and then this feels great. We've got a sparring partner who's brought in who's quite good. There's a spar actually on YouTube. There's some footage of YouTube of Cordy sparring with Wayne Alexander at the Peacock Gym, which I put up there because I met Wayne at a do once with Audley Harrison was one of my students, by the way. He won the Olympic gold medal. Audley was quite a funny, just as fun as a funny student.
Before the Olympics?
Oh, before. Oh no, Audley was treated pretty. This was all before. Audley had just come out of crime school to go to university. Read his book. I mean, can you imagine? He went for crime for a fray, and Audley's lessons. Just as you'd have 100 students in front of you, and we'd have we'd have 2 calls for the students who would rock up late. We have one where the whole class would stand up and go, "You're late, mate." Right? We put mate in to be polite, and then 2, if we were a bit polite, they all went. But we had to introduce a 3rd one, because many lessons, one lecturer was giving this lesson, and the people are late, and he goes, "Well, the next person who's late is going to get it." The outer doors smash open, right? Then the inner doors smash open. Then Rawdy's about 6'5", right? He's massive, and he'd wear bright pink tracksuits sort of thing, and he'd have a bag like that on his shoulders. So the doors would open, and the light was blocked by this pink thing, this black tracksuit. And the orderlies walked in, and the lecturer, who's just told them the next student's going to get bollocked, and he just goes. So the 3rd call was if Audley Harrison turns up. That all went on for years. That thing. That was, "Oh, where would you like a seat? Who would you like me to start again, Audley?" But Audley was a good student, and he inherited the boxing club from me as an aside, which was quite good. I was school teaching a little bit, so not then. I'd go down there one day, and when I did the boxing club, there would be a load of rugby players in there for whom the rugby coach would say, make sure you have somebody spar with them and hammer them, type thing. And the few ex-boxers, about 8 people. I went there with all of them. There was about 100 people. 70 of them were girls, and he had them running round and all these things. And then he set up, in Audley's